To the 20, and he's gone. Touchdown, Easton Sadinsky. The Bulldogs get the football. Unbelievable. There goes Terry. Touchdown, Grandville. Pressure coming down. He goes. Wyman busting through. The junior shot out of a cannon. Jump pass. Caught Connolly. He's got the speed. He had 2 returns last year against Caledonia. Easton Sadinsky. Touchdown, Grandville. Dawgs back on top. Brings the pressure, and down he goes. It's Braylen Haney on the sack. Shut down. Reed Graverson and Garrett Naraki. So the Jaden Terry again. Easy touchdown. Jaden with his second of the night.
Welcome to MGN on Michigan Sports Radio. Hello, everyone. Week 8 of Dawgs plus Nate and Chandler here on the Michigan Game Night YouTube page, and just a couple weeks left in the season, and we have a lot maybe to talk about here tonight. East Kentwood is coming to town, of course. Grandville on the heels of a tough loss on the road at Grand Haven, an upset loss for sure, and one that it's going to provide an opportunity, I think, for this team to now have to kind of right the ship and to prove some people wrong, I guess, in the coming weeks, and we'll get into all of that. We are, at the time of filming this, TBD on this week's guest, so thanks in advance to whoever does come on. Working on that while we're just quick filming this and what made the most sense, but we'll be getting to that interview here in a second. Of course, at MI Game Night on social media, and then the Bennett Center Farmers Insurance Agency is what presents everything we do. We'll get to the guest here in a second, but we'll do more of a full breakdown. But of course, Chandler, not the situation that we thought we would be doing this show this weekend, and it's a tough loss, and I think now it's going to really be big to see how this experienced team is going to be able to rebound.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see. We sat here, I believe it was a week ago, and said that it was a must-win game, and then that didn't happen. And so kind of where do you go from here? You'll kind of break down what exactly happened, how the ship can be righted, and what things are looking like moving forward. But yeah, nonetheless, a tough loss last week, and so kind of looking to turn things around the final 2 weeks of the season against some really tough competition in the OK Red.
Yeah, and I'll kind of make a little bit of the announcement here. We are tentative, so this week we are for sure doing the game video coverage with us there. Next week, Michigan Sports Radio will have the coverage, period. We are talking, even though the game's at Grandville, there's some things kind of up in the air with some things that sponsors are asking for and whatever. We are talking about possibly sending, based on what's at stake in that game, blah, 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 sending the Hudsonville crew to Grandville to do that game, because we have to get a jump start on Unity Christian coverage that the sponsors and everyone's looking for, because they're going to be going on a playoff run, and they have Notre Dame prep that night in a big game. So it's kind of TBD on where we're going to be. I think if Grandville plays East Kentwood really close or beats them, we probably wind up just doing our game, sending someone else. But there are some behind-the-scenes machinations going on that are kind of leading to what we have to do, just setting up for the playoffs, because Grandville's likely going to be doing 2 playoff road games in the districts at other MSR broadcast team in all likelihood. That's kind of setting up for sponsors and stuff wanting us to be doing games, doing probably Unity Christian then within our coverage area. So that's the openly behind the scenes thing of what's going on. We're for sure doing the game this week. Michigan Sports Radio will have every Grandville game the rest of the year, period, no questions asked. The question just is if we are there or not. We still plan on through next week for sure doing this show still in some capacity, and we'll kind of see if it gets retooled or what happens come playoff time. But that's kind of where things are sitting, and kind of things being moved around right now, just given kind of some of the different circumstances. So that is that's where we're at. I want to make the announcement on this show where we're going to be, what the plan is. For sure there this weekend, hopefully there and again, just because it's senior night for this class and stuff, that's something that I'm certainly considering and fighting for, but there are some behind the scenes wishes and different things from MSR sponsors and different things that we're moving. So that's long-winded in my explanation, but that's what's going on. So Yeah, that opens up the show. Let's send it to this week's interview, and then we'll come right back and we'll get into breaking down last week. And welcome back, everyone, to Game Night. I'm very excited now to welcome on the program one of the leaders of the Grandville Bulldogs this season as we head into the final couple weeks of the year. A 3-year starter for the Dogs on both sides of the football. Braylen Haney is joining the program here tonight. Braylen, first off, thanks for your time. How are you doing?
Doing great. How about you?
I'm doing really well. As I said, thanks for coming on, and a lot to get to heading into a really big closing section, of course, here to the season. But coming off a tough one last week, there's no way around it. At Grand Haven, suffering the loss there. Kind of take us through this week. Where is the team's confidence at? What has the team done? What has the coaching staff said to kind of help the team refocus and get ready for these final 2 weeks?
So we obviously had a hard loss last week. We've tried to build off of the good that we've put into the game and try to take it off that. So we try to implement all the stuff in practice and look forward to our game on Friday and just go from there.
Yeah, and we'll get into that because it's you guys have got a couple big chances here to make a statement. I think in the closing part of this season. I want to kind of take a look back and want to talk about your play along with the team here because, especially post the Jaden Terry injury, you've been one of the guys that has had to and has stepped up in a big way for this team. So I guess first let's kind of talk about that. How have you really had to pride yourself? What have been your focus in terms of, having to step up on both sides of the ball after Jaden went down a few weeks ago?
Yeah, so obviously it was terrible seeing Jaden go down, but I kind of had the mindset of keep moving and just keep going. I'm going to give it my all every play. So even though I play both ways, I'm still going to give it all to my team. And that's just kind of a mindset. Just keep going and keep doing what I'm doing. So that's kind of what I've been doing. Yeah,
for sure. And I mean, again, you're a guy that you're playing both ways and you're playing, there's not a snap pretty much that you're missing. Describe the challenge, both physically and mentally, of playing every single down the way that you do all over the place and with such physicality.
Obviously, it's pretty tough, but I've kind of gotten used to it over the years, at least. Because last year I played both ways a decent amount, and this year I'm fully both ways. So I kind of gotten used to it, and my body's gotten used to it as well. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the interesting things, with that is, you look at this team, this is a Grandville team, and the identity, of course, with the offense you guys run, what you do is going to be that of physicality. But, you week in, week out, you're a smaller guy, on the grand scheme of things, but you a lot of times lead this team in physicality week in and week out with what you're doing on both sides of the football. How much of a point of pride is that for you to play with the physicality that you do?
Yeah, it kind of gives me that confidence that I need to play every Friday, and it kind of just sets a tone to my game and my physicality. I'm going to be the most physical player every play. That's at least my mindset, and just go play after play from there.
Yeah, for sure. And you look at this season, I think the Jenison game in particular was a standout for you. I would say probably, we've seen you have some great games in the last couple of years, but for that game, a couple of touchdowns, a couple of interceptions as well. When you look back at that Jenison game, what was it for you personally that you were really seeing the field well and that was rolling so well in that game?
I feel like it really just goes back to practice. I do drills every day with my coach, and it just implements in the game because if it wasn't for practice, I wouldn't have done the same things that I would have do in games. So it just kind of goes back to practice and doing the fundamentals right.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things that we've looked at is again a 3-year player with you. What are some of the things that you felt throughout your career that you think you've grown the most at, that you've really worked on, and that you've seen yourself become better at over the last couple of years, and have made a point of pride to improve at?
I would for sure say my confidence level. In years past, I've not been the most confident person on the field, but as we go into this year, I feel like my confidence has risen so much, and that's really brought the best out of me as an athlete and a player on the field, and just giving my all every play and just communicating to my team.
Yeah, and to that point as well, one of the unique things about this team, and especially, kind of right now in a point where you guys are looking to reset the season a little bit in some extent, you've got an incredible group of, experience within that locker room. Other guys that have been right there with you, starting for 2, 3, plus seasons. How much does it help that confidence? How much does it help trying to be a leader to have those sort of 3-year guys that have been through the wars with you to lean on?
Helps very much because whenever I miss a play or I don't do my job, I know I can count on my teammates to do that, and they'll fulfill my job for that. And it's just the chemistry that we have together. It builds our team so much, and it just gives our team strengths, and just we ball out every day.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing, kind of before we start moving in here, I think that's interesting for you, and I think we can talk about, being a part of Grandville football and how special that's been for you. But it's, for you, it's a family affair as well. You've got your dad on staff. Haley's out there doing, video content and stuff as well every week. So there's definitely an actual family element, and then also the family element of the program in general. How special for you has it been to be a part of Grandville football, have your family as a part of it, and everything that goes into that?
Oh, it's been amazing. It's like a dream come true, honestly, because I play for my family every game. I play for the Lord above every game, and I feel like I have those two by my side every game, because when I make a bad play or I make an amazing play, I can always go back to my dad on the field, and he'll always hype me up or coach me when I do something right or wrong. So he's always been there for me, and I've always been playing for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Going forward, one of the big reasons why I wanted to have you on this week is I know you've been kind of putting forward quite a bit of a push in terms of your recruiting and trying to be able to hopefully play at the next level. Kind of tell us about maybe if there are some schools you've talked to, what your recruiting situation is right now, because certainly we want to help promote that. We're the first that have seen you over the last 3 years and what you're able to do on a football field. So kind of take us through, do you want to play at the next level? Where are you maybe looking at playing? Where are things at on that front?
Oh, currently I'm undecided on what I want to do after football season and after high school, but I've had some colleges reach out to me. I'm going to a Calvin visit this Saturday. Okay. They've been reaching out to me a ton. I've had a few other schools as well, but if football isn't an option for me and it doesn't work out, I've really wanted to be an electrician and get into that and go to a trade, everything like that. That's
awesome. That's like I said, that's smart. That's something certainly that we need. And regardless, I'm sure you'll be great going forward. And if there is a football program that wants to have or need, if any football program wants a guy that's proven himself playing both ways with the toughness that you have, certainly I think we'd be the first to vouch for what we've seen over the last 3 years or so going on ahead. All right, let's wrap some things up here, and let's take a look at this weekend. It's another big one, as they all are in the OK Red. Back-to-back home games to close the season, Braylen, and this week it's East Kentwood, a team that certainly is, first off, let's look at their offense. They're an explosive team on offense. They can do a lot of different things. Take us through kind of the defense, what some of the keys you think are going to be, not getting into the game plan, but some of the keys of being able to slow down such a vaunted attack with a highly hyped quarterback and everything in between.
Yeah, I feel like they're obviously an amazing team, and we have to do our job every single play. Otherwise, we're going to get burned and everything like that. So we've kind of shifted our practice plans differently because the last few weeks haven't been working out. So we've kind of switched gears and had more of an individual practice rather than a team practice. So we've really been focusing on our keys and our jobs throughout the game. So whenever we make a mistake, we can always go back to our keys and practice.
That's awesome. And you're a good one to talk to because we can look at the other side of the ball as well. Offense started to mix things up a little bit in terms of the personnel and some of the play calling last week against Grand Haven, trying to get things rolling. They're a tough team, but I think they can be beatable. Tell us about the offense. What do you think you guys have to do to be able to get your mojo back on the offensive side of the ball this week?
I believe that we have to be more physical. We have to be faster and just overall better as a team because that's what our offense is based off, pretty much, physicality and doing our job. So I feel like if we do all those three, we'll be a pretty good team.
All right, that's awesome. Braylen Haney here on game night. Dawgs getting ready to rock and roll against East Kentwood, a big one as we begin to close down the regular season here this week. And Coverage is coming up here in just a minute on Game Night on Michigan Sports Radio. All right, welcome back to Dawgs Plus here. All right, let's get into it. 42-28. Grandville goes into Grand Haven. Gene Rothley Field. Bucks Pride Cancer Awareness Night. Always fired up night for Grand Haven. And Coach Biedenbender, in his now third year, we've seen him a couple of times, and I feel like every time that's a charged up team that they've played some games that are probably closer than people would have expected in a couple of different cases throughout the last few years, even though they've only won, one OK Red game in the last 4 years heading into Friday night. They're really banged up too. For as much we talk about Grandville being banged up, that's a team that's super banged up. And we're mostly we're not necessarily going to break down the minutia as much. We're going to look kind of bigger picture here going ahead, both in terms of big things from the game and bigger picture. But I think, you can go back and you can listen to the game if you need to. We had the booth cam on, which wound up being, again, something that I came up with the idea. I watched Learfield a couple of years ago. I'm like, oh yeah, they're all doing this, we'll do it. And there was a time in the fourth quarter that I almost decided to turn it off.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting there and I'm like, I know there's going to be some bad 2,000-yard stare screenshots.
Mm-hmm.
And there probably were. I know there were for a fact.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was, the emotion was worn. I tried to mask it. We both did, but.
Yeah, I think you've already have sent me a couple of the screen captures, and I think just based on the picture, you can kind of guess what's happening in the game and where we're about and kind of what things are looking like, the outlook.
The right tackle touchdown run. That
was one of them, yep. Which that's catching on now.
That's
the thing. So
it is. Kaylin DeBoer was watching Friday apparently.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. So again, big picture. So the chatter's here now, and a couple of years ago I came up with those Grandville versus everybody shirts with the T and stuff on them because there was something to it in terms of what the media, had said, and there were a couple things that year, especially whenever I came up with those. And, Saturday morning, I'm on a podcast, and they're just saying, and we're going to do some News to You stuff here in a second. They're just Granville's, Dad, they're out of the playoffs. They lose these last 2 games. They aren't getting in. I'm like, I don't know. We've seen this happen. I've never seen a 4-win team dismissed from the D1 playoffs that quickly. So I guess, I'll lay it out. I know players watch. Obviously, we know players watch the show. The chatter's out there. They are now, the Wolves are at the door right now. And I guess now the big picture is, where do you go from here? Because now, got to prove some people wrong. It's not where you want to be, but now they're circling again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they sure are. I think that's a tough one because that's one of the remaining games. That's the game you thought you probably had in the bag, and that was the one that we broke down last week. Secures that playoff position. You feel better about it, and then whatever happens the last 2 weeks of the season obviously improves your position. But at the same time, you've got that in the bag, and then you're trying to beat a couple teams that are towards the top of the OK Red, and losing that one definitely hurts. So I think, the bad news is, now the critics are out there, and after having that one on tape, that's a tough one to bounce back from late in the season. But at the same time, the line that I've heard for 8 years, 7-8 years as a Yankees fan, that it applies here, and I hate it so much when they tell you. But this is, I think this is what you do. When somebody questions, after a tough loss, you go, it's all right in front of us.
It is.
And as much as I hate that, I think it applies in this situation to where that one's tough. And you want to secure your playoff position. You want to have a better matchup potentially, depending on what the district's draw is. But the teams that you're going to have to beat in order to get out of the district to win a couple playoff games are still there. You kind of know now what this team's capable of. They've played some really good games against quality teams, and now you've got this one where you were expected to win going in, and you have the loss. So I think you kind of know they know where they're at. They kind of know where they need to be in order to beat the teams in front of them, and it's just a matter of getting there.
That was well done. We're going to give some behind the scenes here. We recorded everything you've just seen already, and whoever runs the computer forgot to switch from pause to record. So what you just saw was a second take of a rolling thought podcast. So good work. That was very good. I think we got all the points in there. I mean, it's the second time you're saying it. It's got to be better, right?
Got a rehearsal in, so.
Let's take a look at the game. So I guess we can do kind of some pros and cons because there are some of each. We're going to start with the cons because I'm actually a negative person. So I know there's this shtick on this show that I'm,
Super optimist.
yeah. So I'm not. You may know that about me.
I do know that, yeah.
So we're going to start with the cons. And I have two written, and we're going to kind of go through them. So the first is the defense. Again, this is a Grand Haven team that hadn't scored more than 38. Mm-hmm. They did that against Lakeshore. They scored 28 against Rockford. But, I think the main thing is some speed and space, some missed tackles, only got one sack, didn't force turnovers. Like the things that have been the hallmark of the defense, for whatever reason, didn't happen on Friday, and that's exactly what set it up. And I think the good news with the defense is where there were problems, I think there are pretty clear answers to some extent on what needs to be done against an East Kentwood team that essentially is a juggernaut version of the same thing you just saw last Friday.
Yeah, it doesn't get any easier as far as a lot of what gave you trouble against the Buccaneers. You take that same kind of offense generically and you improve the talent likely, and that's kind of what they've been running. They've been putting up big numbers. But I think just to give credit right off the bat to Grand Haven, they looked good offensively. I mean,
for sure.
That looked like an inspired team. I don't know, what the message was going into the week, or if they were, as you mentioned, the cancer night going on. Who knows what it was? A mixture of events playing on their home field. They played really well. They played inspired football. They looked like a good team. They didn't look like a 1-5 team going into it. And from the start, they kind of played like they had nothing to lose.
They had, They had five
Yeah.
fourth down conversions on the first drive of the game, and that came on the heels of Grandville punting from the 43.
Yeah.
So Grandville punts from the 43, which I think you were probably in that game trusting that what your defense is going to be based on what had been in similar games. Mm-hmm. And then they go ahead and they convert the first four of, I think they had 6 or 7 fourth down conversions in that game, and they got a lot of them that first drive.
Yeah, and the first one was on their own 23-yard line.
Oh, my gosh.
They just got stuffed on 3rd and short, and they run the same unit back out there and can pick it up after that on 4th and short and kind of just carry that momentum throughout the whole rest of the game. And so just right off the bat, the partial credit there to Grand Haven and also the kind of offense that they were running. That's something that hadn't seen a ton of on film. I don't know if that's something they've been breaking in or if that was a change-up they've been developing as well. But an offense that essentially was very well designed to attack the Bulldogs, where they have some weaknesses, where they have some injuries. They just a really nice job of calling plays all night, it felt like. And so I think the Bulldogs were doing what they could and what they had seen in prep from what Grand Haven's offense had been most of the season. And the Buccaneers were just a step ahead in kind of what they had as far as an offensive game plan going into that one.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at their offensive game plan. So you get, Coach Biedenbender was a lineman at Grand Valley State, and then Matt Naver, who's his offensive coordinator, came in last. I don't know if he's been there from the beginning or last year, but he comes from kind of the West Ottawa tree, I think, under the last group. So that group that played Grandville pretty well. Mm-hmm. I think that those West Ottawa teams from 18, 19, 20, that will always scored points against Grandville, that's kind of the group that's, leading the staff a little bit, or was, on staff there and on staff at Grand Haven. So there's some turnover there. Other side of the ball, Grandville offense, the pass game got some plays going. They chunked away. I mean, they scored 28, had an interception at the end, but, they weren't on the field a ton. Didn't really get stopped. I think the main thing that stood out for me, and they were mixing up guys all night long, doing whatever they could to get it, is I think DJ Hardiman had like one 20, 30-yard run. Besides that, the run game explosiveness, which we both expected to be there against Grand Haven, was not there. And that's going to be the one thing that they have to find is, yes, you can create stuff through the pass game, and Jeffrey Fogelsonger was very good again, found some guys. They had drives where they were hitting 3 or 4 different targets on it, whatever, and going to the air. But they have to get that offensive explosiveness via the ground game, via some speed back, I think.
Yeah, you can kind of tell that's what they're searching for. Is you see a little the rotation kind of developing during the course of that game as well. DeRidder getting about 10 touches in that one, and a little less Akuyo, Crater even subbing in at certain points of the game to play running back. And yeah, I think you've got your two guys that you trust to chunk your way down the field, and Hardeman and Haney both in there and operating well. And those guys continued, both had over 100 yards to perform really well. And just looking right at the stats here now, Hardeman had 1 carry for 52 yards, and that was essentially half of his yardage for the entire night. The rest was 2-3 yard average outside of that. So the typical big plays that we've seen, especially against a team like Grand Haven and a defense that historically has struggled to stop them, just those big runs weren't there. And I feel partially responsible for severely jinxing that. And some of the numbers that I listed the pregame, I was going through, and I think, I don't know the numbers right off, but they were averaging like 50-some points over the last 6 games and a 6-game win streak, and then there was just none of that. And
there's been some jinxing from our broadcast this year, and numbers and graphics that have been put on the screen. So
it's a tough run for us. But no, I think they're kind of searching for that early on in the season. And you hate to draw it all specifically to the Jaden Terry injury, but prior to the Tank injury, it kind of felt like an offense that had that big playability and was intentionally at times having some of those grinding drives down the field to where they could sit on the ball. And now it kind of feels like an offense that can still do that, but those big plays and those the chunk runs are not there, and they're kind of searching for that speed element right now because the defenses are so keying in and really stacking the box and saying, we're going to make you beat us around the outside with some speed, and right now they're kind of searching for that response.
Yeah, and like you said, Keegan DeRidder comes on, and he's a guy who wasn't on my spotting board as a running back. He's actually on the roster only as a DB. I think he played some quarterback in the past, but he comes in, he looked good, bigger guy, but has some of that speed. I think all bets are going to be off, and I think I think we know now that I think personnel wise Coach Siegel mixed up that personnel as much as we've seen him do, and I think that means maybe even continue to dig into JV team and other guys wearing number 28 and stuff, and it might be all bets off here just to find that speed and find a little bit different mix that gets you a little bit more of what the team was before, because at the end of the day,
that's partially the depth at the running back position and getting some guys healthy, getting some guys in there, getting guys more reps, and then also you kind of see them working in the passing game every week too. This week got a necessity a little bit more because they were chasing points for a large part of the second half, but you see some of those connections, 4 different receivers catching the football Friday night, and as we mentioned, that because they were having to throw the ball a little bit more than they typically would to try to keep up, but at the same time, I think the coaching staff, Coach Stiegel specifically, kind of knows that in order to keep defenses honest and to kind of substitute maybe some of those explosive runs that we've seen, they're going to have to turn to some different looks. They have the benefit that they were kind of already doing that a little bit early in the season with some of the different formations and stuff, but that's kind of becoming more and more crucial as the season goes along.
Yeah. Speaking of this specific injury, I almost forgot about it. State champs. And I saw y'all were at the Rockford, you were at the Hudson Valley's Kentwood game. Here's the deal. I understand that you have a big mix of things that go into this. And again, there's not an official Mr. Football that the Coaches Association puts out. But state champs has one, and they kind of rank. They'll have like a 1 through 5. I don't know what their list winds up being at the end, but the big part of what they do during the season is they have a fan voting component to it. And then they also say playoff success, team success, whatever. They have a whole bunch of subjective things that they and coaches or whatever vote on, and that whatever. And if that were to take Jaden out of this mix because of those factors, that's fine. But he's leading the thing. So to then just discredit all of the fan vote because he suffered the injury at the wrong time. What if someone suffered an injury week 2, they come back week 7, they would be eligible still. But because Jaden has these 4 great weeks, 3.5 great weeks, and now is out, I think that's what it is state champs didn't want a West Side guy winning their award because there's a athlete that plays for Cass Tech that we've already seen that I think state champs really wants to win that award.
The fix is in. We got to get our tinfoil hats
and
back.
He's going to win it anyway because the team's going to go front. If he doesn't, the car will win it.
Yeah.
Or is it only for seniors? I don't know what their parameters are. Otherwise, Grant will win it. But that's another point. I need to talk about that. So yeah, we'll go from there. So yes, all right. That's Grandville, Grand Haven. Let's move into taking a look at quickly. That's our graphics at the playoff picture here for the week. And this is kind of where you're sitting. And this is why. So the main thing is, and I was texting back and forth with Snooze a little bit the other night as well, because I was kind of curious about the status of if they lose out both games. I think you don't want to be on the bubble. We know that. And it's going to be you're going to be in the 28, 29, 30, 31 range. I think they're still okay. So I know, like I said, there's been a little bit of chatter of it's over if they don't win the last two games. It may not be the case. Now, you win one of those last two games, I mean, you're locking in at 3, you're fine. The main question we're looking for is if Jennison doesn't make it and then East Kentwood comes into this district. That's the main thing that we're looking at. But that's the big thing, and it's we can beat the dead horse all we want about how bad functionally losing to Grand Haven was in terms of this. But at the end of the day, if you're likely still okay, you're likely still having to go to either Hudsonville week 1 or Rockford week 1 and then play the other on the road the next week. So it is what it is. Or go out, win the next 2 weeks and get the 2 seed.
There you go. That's still an option.
It is.
That makes things a lot easier.
Again, it is still out there. And it's still whatever. Just have to slow down Cade Kaufman and then run against Hudsonville, which no one's done yet. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back, and we're going to preview this Grandville East Kentwood game because I think it is an interesting one, and I think there is an opportunity there's a path to victory and a style of game here that I think is more possible than a lot of people are letting on just stylistically. So we'll be right back after this.
This broadcast is presented by Farmers Insurance, Bennett Center Agency in Wyoming. For all auto, home, specialty, life, and commercial insurance needs, see what a center can do for you. Call today at 616-980-4949 or visit at 2240 28th Street Southwest in Wyoming.
All right, wrapping things up here. We're going to move into Grandville versus East Kentwood. Also, want to go back earlier. Thank you to Braylen Haney for coming on the show. We mid-show, while we're recording this, figured out who exactly the guest was going to be. So, great interview that we're doing in the future. This whole show is a mess every week for my production's sake. There are so many ways I could do it very easily and just schedule it and then schedule you at a certain time and it's all fine and good.
Instead of just mix and match, whatever.
I'm out of control at all times. I can't wait. I don't mean this. I can't wait till football season ends a lot of times by the time we get to this time of year because I'm going crazy. Absolutely. And I still haven't recovered from that thing I did 2 weeks ago where I was on the air for 9 hours a day for 3 straight days. And then whatever, I'm just losing my mind. And I didn't have much of a mind to lose to begin with. So we're almost there. Just have all the Ford Field run, which gets even worse.
Right.
And then we're doing a combined basketball. So this winter we're doing Grandville basketball, and then we're doing Grandville hockey, and then we also have got some featured basketball stuff. I don't know if I can announce what it is yet, but it's an MSR partnership with a kind of game of the week thing through a recruiting thing. It's a whole deal that's being worked on. So this winter is going to be stupid too, as always. Also, this is a note. On YouTube, Myra Race Network. Just subscribe for me. We're trying to. That's the one of the networks I work with. We're moving our streaming platform, hoping to go to YouTube. But the problem is YouTube. If you're starting up a brand new YouTube, to be able to do subscriptions, you have to have a certain amount of things. So if you like snowmobile racing, or me, so probably more likely snowmobile racing, subscribe to that. because we have to get, like, we have a huge viewership base from the past, but it's just getting a whole bunch of people to know where they're going now, which is, I'm sure, going to be
it sounds
always
no
fun.
big deal.
Oh, yeah.
Free shout out.
Yeah. So, yeah. There you go. Where were we? This show has been as bad as I thought. I knew that this was going to be a disaster today. I didn't know how. You said, I'm like, we're Washington leading the Army, sort of, across the Delaware sort of thing. Although that was in retreat, by the way. People forget that about the George Washington thing across the Delaware. That was actually in retreat. So actually... Undaunted. Kurt Signetti, my favorite guy. All right. Undaunted. This week, you got a 4-star quarterback on his way to Michigan State. You have one of the short list of the best coaches in the state of Michigan in the last 20 years, who left one of the cushiest jobs ever because he knew he could go to a cushier one, and East Kentwood is, making it happen to make sure that they have what they need. Mm-hmm. Again, not many teams steal a quarterback from South Christian.
No, that's tough
right
to do.
when South Christian needs a quarterback too. Not many teams steal one. So, now that we're in trouble, let's get started, shall we? What I wrote here, and we've said the same thing 4 times. We're going to say it again because that's the whole point of podcasting, is people are just here forever. Not the matchup you want to see, but if you want to prove yourselves and you want to make a statement, this is the exact team that people are saying you can't beat. You're at home. You have a history of beating East Kentwood. Mm-hmm. East Kentwood hasn't beaten Grandville in how long?
6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
Or why?
Yeah, or why?
Why? Let's go why.
Okay. Well, I think for as bad as this past week was, and as much of, maybe the vibes are down, if you're not looking for the bright side of things, by Friday night, if you win against East Kentwood, the team that has been in our top 10, well, you don't do top 10 anymore, but my top 10.
I have one this week.
Okay. The team that's been in my top 10 all season long, you got a chance to beat them on Friday night, and you can flip the script in a matter of a week. Yeah. And you got a chance then to ride that, of course, into the following week against Hudsonville, blah, blah, blah. That's down the road. But the good news is you've got an opportunity to put that behind you, win a statement game, and get some momentum turned around in the regular season yet. Yeah.
No, my top 10s for the first time since week 1. It's legit too.
Okay.
The vibes are so bad that I decided that was not working, and we have to veer back.
Okay.
I did get feedback, by the way, of people that did know who AJ Foyt was.
Okay.
So you're in the minority.
All right.
So yeah.
I feel like there's a decent amount of people that still don't know who he is.
That was, by the way.
You checked in with one specific person that you thought maybe would know.
No,
who
I
he
heard.
was.
I heard from it was Snooze.
Snooze knew it.
Yeah,
okay,
Snooze
well,
did.
then I guess
you're getting shouted out, Snooze.
I can't. Yeah, then I can't argue with that.
Right.
But maybe if there's other people that don't know who he is, chime in, help me out, whatever, because I feel like I'm not alone on.
I think AJ Foyt is maybe I'm wrong because I'm.
You're kind of locked in on that, yeah.
Right, but that's that's. I mean, that is that's Michael Jordan of American racing in terms of he and Mario Andretti and Dale Earnhardt are he and Dale Earnhardt are but Dale Earnhardt's got. Keep it moving. No one wants to listen to this. Let's take a look at a little bit of East Kentwood, what to expect, what to break down, what you're going to see. And this is when I asked you the why or the why not. Here's the why not. Their offense. So, Coach Spencer hired a college staff. I mean, we're talking, he hired, Saginaw Valley's quarterback coach or offensive, analyst. He hired big-time college coaches to come in to lead this thing. And their offense is as multiple of a college-looking spread as you can imagine. 11 personnel, 10 personnel, 22 personnel, 21 personnel. Every look you can imagine. That split-back gun that we saw last week used in great effectiveness, be ready for it because they're going to run the same stuff that Grand Haven did to effectiveness. And I think there's a reason why that worked against Granville's defense as well. The things that Granville does, there's something there. They're going to move receivers around. They'll put the slot guy here. They'll move them that every time they come out, they will have different formations. They're a very multiple college-looking spread. And then there's the personnel. Cade Kaufman's going to Michigan State. He's a 4-star quarterback that's going to play for James Franklin there or whatever. And then, you got Stephen Jones. He's a speedy receiver. Ahmad Edmonds is like the fastest slot guy Grandville will see this year. He's nasty. Returns kicks too. Look out. Dallas Moody, a guy that they stole from Caledonia. He was up as a freshman for Caledonia. They stole him from Cal. He's a 200-pound guy that can run with speed. They have a 215-pound H-back that they can bring in if they want to be powerful. They can do everything in terms of being that college multiple spread offense. You have to be ready for a team that can beat you in any capacity needed. Yeah,
I think this is an East Kentwood team they're all in. They're going for this thing, and they've infused some life into the program. Mm-hmm. They've been knocking on the door now of being at the top of the OK Red. They've played a tight game against Rockford. Felt like they missed some opportunities there. Last week had Hudsonville on the ropes. Let that one kind of slip away from them, and then. But they're right there too, and of course they're going to be in the playoffs, so they kind of know what they can do moving forward. But
sorry. Everyone's seen the video by now, right? In the hold.
Imagine, yeah.
They beat him. The tackle tackled him. He tackled him. It wasn't even a hold. Sorry, I cut you off.
Okay, but, yeah. No, you're good. We're back. I think it's an East Kentwood team that's reaching kind of the finished product of what they could be when they brought this coaching staff and the assistants that you mentioned and the talent that they brought in as well. They're kind of putting it all together and have played some really good games against some of the top teams as an offense, scoring over 40-plus a game. That's with the 14-point showing against Rockford. It's over almost 45 points a game if you take that one out. Mm-hmm. And so really firing offensively and then defensively playing well too. That's a team that going back a couple years was almost more of a defensive first team and still have some of that identity as well. And so a team that is right up there with the Rockford and the Hudsonvilles of the world as far as teams that are in the playoffs and could also make a deep run just based on the talent and the coaching staff that they have. Yeah,
well, you segued for me to talk about the defense. So they gave up 21 to Rockford, which is kind of on par with what Grandville gave up to Rockford, kind of what the going rate has been. And Grandville's defense played a really good game, a really good game, being on the field a lot. Just have Rockford score 28, so they're 21, so they're at least that good. They give up 43 to Hudsonville. Besides that, they've not given up anything near that all year long. The other 3 OK Red games they played in, they gave up 7 points per game. They gave up 8 points, 6 points, and 7 points in those 3 games against Jensen, West Ottawa, Grand Haven. So they are still really good. What to expect? They're a multiple odd front defense normally. So normally 3-4, 3-3-5. And what they love to do is they love to do those, what do you call them, psycho fronts where they stand guys and move guys and whatever. They'll do that. I don't think they'll do that this week.
Probably not.
I'm hoping they do. If they do that, hit the trap, please. Yeah. But the main thing from that then, what do they probably look like? Let me do some math. 5-4-2 probably. Mm-hmm. Maybe they go 4-5-2, but my guess is because they like to be odd front, they probably go 5-4-2, maybe 2 standing edge, whatever. Yeah. But it's your pretty basic. People, they know what to do to some extent against the team. They're really good. They're really big up front. This is a team that is, but they didn't stop the run well last week because they gave up a lot of points to Hudsonville. So maybe once again, they're gettable. Maybe they're still a little bit finesse, and maybe when they aren't in their base 3-3-5, maybe they're not as happy. And maybe it's kind of like the Pick North Cass Tech type equation that we've seen in the past couple of years. They're built very similarly to those teams in terms of the talent in general.
Yeah, I think, there's a couple different sides of the coin there as far as, you can look at the numbers that they've put up against some of the other competition that they've played and how they've limited opposing offenses pretty effectively. And then you can also kind of look at, coming off a game against Hudson where they gave up 43 points and then also gave a lot of yards on the ground, potentially factoring in they haven't played the T yet, and you never know how that affects a team because they have to play out of their base defense. Everybody that's watching this knows how the Bulldogs can manipulate defenses like that. And so, you get a team that has given up points to the Bulldogs in the past. Now, as we learned, you can't always strictly rely on that. But I think for the Bulldogs' sake of things, they're looking like, maybe you catch a team that's off a tough week, gave up some yards last week, haven't seen this offense in a while, and so you can maybe catch them and try to put up some numbers offensively there.
Yeah. Why not, just to go back to your roots, why not just run the Delaware wing tee?
Yeah.
People call it that anyway. Let's just run some triple option stuff. Run the, what do they call it in Navy, the Millennial wing tee, where they run it from the gun and stuff. Mm-hmm. Why not?
That could work.
Just install that in the next 3 days.
Yeah, that's not a big deal, right?
Just make it happen. It's that easy.
Just download that playbook.
Yeah, just download that playbook. That's what I do.
Yep.
Just mix it up. Like, our personnel this year, I guess we got to run Kansas State this year. Oh, we'll run Utah next year.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's that easy, right?
Right.
That's how football works. All right, that's the East Kentwood preview, 6:30. Video coverage, we will be there, starting the Center Agency pregame show, of course, for the pregame. And, we'll get into it. So video coverage, again, going to be an interesting game. We'll see if Grandville can really make a statement back. All right, let's go to the rankings for this week. And the top 10, we go into only a couple weeks left in the season. Start with you, CT. Take us through where things are at heading into this week.
All right, my top 10. This is I got some heat from this, pretty much mostly from you last week. So let's see what I got this week.
Well, I will say, before you begin, having not done one last week, I didn't realize how tough it is right now.
We can leave that in.
Right.
Yeah, no. So starting at 10, I've got Cedar Springs. That was the one that was maybe questionable last week. They had a big win over Sparta. Only loss in the year has been to Kentwood Hills, who was also in my top 10. Have a big win over Lowell. I think they probably went out the rest of the way, finished the year 8-1. At 9, I've got Zeeland West. They were out for a couple weeks. They were in for a couple weeks. They're back. I've got them at 9. They had a closer-ish win against over Forest Hill Central. And it was the only team that's played Unity Christian somewhat close this year. So that's got them in the top 10. I've got West Catholic, kind of staying in the same range, right at 8. That big win over Wayland. Interesting that West Catholic Zeeland West, that matchup is week 9, so kind of waiting on that one. That'll be a good one. Muskegon's moving up a little bit continuously here at 7. They blew out Grand Rapids Union. They've now won 4 in a row. We kind of talked about them last week, and looking like after 2 losses to start the year, they're going to keep moving up. Kentwood Hills at 6. Beat a solid Coopersville team this past week.
They're in my 4 downs column this week on Michigan Sports Radio. I actually wrote a little bit about Air Fellows. It was the tagline
there you
on the
go.
thing, yeah.
That's good. At 5, East Kentwood. We talked a lot about them already. They've lost 1-score games to Rockford and Hudsonville. Most people probably know that.
And 1-score games that, like, the one Friday they won the game, and the other one, like,
the one they could have and the one they might have.
Yeah.
At 4, right above them, Rockford. Also at 5 and 2, they won big over Jenison. At 3, these top 3 have pretty much remained all season. At 3, Unity Christian undefeated. I'm thinking they're looking like they're going 9-0. Grand Rapids Catholic Central. A nice win over Holland Christian, who we thought maybe would give them a little bit of trouble this past week. They've got Northview remaining on the schedule. That's maybe a good game coming up as well.
That'll be the first test. I wrote about them this week, too. That in terms of their defense, again, their defense gave up 14 points to Lumen Christi. They have not given up they gave up 10 in one of the games. Besides that, they haven't given up double digits.
Okay.
They've given up 14 points total in the 4 weeks since they played Lumen Christi.
Yep. That's very impressive defense.
Yeah, I know. Like,
and then, the top team remains the same. Hudsonville, you heard it already. They won the thrill over East Kentwood. Even though it was close, that's a win over a top 10 team and keeping them at number 1, of course. They've got Grand Haven and Grandville remaining, and we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound like a hater, but also, does 25 yards count as a Hail Mary? I don't know if it does. They made it look like a Hail Mary.
Did.
I guess because it was like, does the distance count because it's thrown up? Like, gosh, like when I first saw the video, I'm like, oh my goodness, he chucked it up 50 yards. And then I looked at the video close, I'm like, he threw that from 24 yards away.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoo, and it's, bobbled around. Like, what?
I guess it depends on how you want to define the Hail Mary as far as it was.
Like Grandville throws it 25 yards down the field.
Yeah. I'd say in college and in the NFL, that's, I would say, not a Hail Mary for sure. That's just a pretty standard that's a deep pass down the field. Yeah. I'm not sure that's a Hail Mary. High school, you maybe could get me on if the design of the play is kind of like quarterback scrambling around, waiting for the, maybe, I don't know. I guess we got to get a little clarification on what exactly the Hail Mary is.
It was a hold, though. That's what it was. It was a tackle. All right. here's my top 10. And like I said, there's actually not even any shtick to it this week because I kind of wanted to do it legit because I figured it hasn't worked the last couple weeks. So I'm just trying to reverse all the juju here that I possibly can. Speaking of juju, what a dirty team the Lions are continuously. They actually
just gritty.
I know, gritty.
I
know, and like, oh, I got blocked in the back. Like, dude, you took out 4 guys' ACLs last year, diving with your helmet at people. Stop. Stop.
Convenient playing the victim card there.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Isn't that fascinating?
It is, yeah.
Notice how his teammates didn't even come to defend him at first because, like, yeah.
Like, oh, yeah,
you know what? He probably, yeah, you know. Continuing. At 10, I put Grandville. Because I wanted to leave him in. And again, it's without Jaden, I throw him a bone. It's my show. They have to stay in. But there's an argument to drop him out when you lose to Grand Haven. Mm-hmm. Period. Now, win this week, and you can vault. Like, the people, everyone else that's dropped him out of the top 10, including you, win this week, and you're vaulting, like, yourself back into, like, the top 5 all of a sudden. So it's that simple. Win next week, and you're number 1 again.
Yeah.
Like, it's that. Like, that's where it's at. So that's what I got. EGR, I really like Coach Shattuck's team. Like, they're physical, they're tough. They've been in there a little bit. Yeah. I still think they just deserve that nod, and they're just based on the level of competition and stuff, and it's so tough to do, and I kind of wanted to stay away. Again, Kennewick Hills, I think last week it was kind of a joke I made, and I still don't know if they should be that high, but like I do think now they're making an argument. Zeeland West, I have them pretty much exactly where you did, I think, at 8 for all the same reasons you said. West Catholic for all the same reasons you said. I mean, they just keep winning. Like, they're a team, like, they haven't been that impressive, but they just keep winning. And it's like, all right, you know, they in Catholic Central are just on this, you know, the D5, the Grand Rapids, the Diocese of Grand Rapids controls all of Division 5 this year. Whoever wins that game is going to win the state championship in the playoffs. East Kentwood 6. This is where my 4 is what mixes this up from you. East Kentwood 6, Rockford 5, all the same reasons you said. I have Muskegon 4. Now, you may say, Nate, they beat Rockford. To which I would say, that's actually a really good point. That's a really good point.
I should have considered that.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point. But I think Muskegon is really good. I think some of their wins that they do have going out of state, like whatever, they've been impressive. I think they're just a better, they probably should have won that Rockford game to some extent. Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah. No, I probably should have put Rockford 4 and them 5. That's a good point. That's a great point.
Hey.
Whatever. Catholic Central 3, they should be 2. They and Unity are interchangeable, but I put Unity 2 since we are, with sponsor stuff, whatever, going to be probably doing some Unity playoff games.
A little boost.
We'll put the boost in there. So we'll do that, and then Hudsonville 1. Hail Mary or not, hold or not, whatever or not, for 2 straight years now, they just, whenever they look dead, they still win. Mm-hmm. And it all started back in that playoff game 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Where, if you remember the first game of the year that year, you weren't there, but the first game of the year that year, they threw the ball a lot. And it was they were spready, and they were pounding it, and then they decided mid-game to change, and that's happened with the staff before. They mid-game decided to change. And all of a sudden, that playoff game in 23, where they just handed the ball to Bryce Fox 45 times, and he ran for 250 yards, and they controlled the clock for the entire fourth quarter and stuff. It was in that game against Grandville that Grandville still won. They found their identity in that game, that they then said, no more effing around. We're just going to be what we should be. And now for 2 straight years, look at what it's been. I think the biggest thing that has been haunting Hudsonville for the last 5, 6, 7 years sometimes is that they get in their own way with trying to outsmart themselves, because they actually do have a lot of talent. I think they have more talent than what people recognize there in Hudsonville. But it's they finally just figured out, hey, just play this certain brand of football that we're built around doing. We got all these corn-fed, they are the only true farm school in the OK Red.
Yeah.
Run the football. Stop the run and run the football. It's that simple. Mm-hmm. And they do that now.
And it works.
And it works. So, yeah. 6:30 on Friday night. MichiganSportsRadio.com and the Michigan Sports Radio app. Myself and you're going to be there, right?
I'll be there.
He will be there. Are going to be there at Grandville High School, the football stadium there. We'll be in the booth. We're going to have video coverage of a football game that's taking place as East Kentwood is in town for that football game. And, we'll see you then. Do you have any final thoughts today? No final thoughts today?
Nothing crazy, no. No football this week for me. I got the bye week.
Yep, you did, yep.
Looking forward to the game Friday night. For all the reasons we talked about, I think it could be an opportunity to prove some doubters wrong, but we'll see what happens. I think it should be a good game regardless, and excited to see an East Kentwood team that I've heard and seen a lot about and get to see them in person, as well as see how the Bulldogs respond and kind of see how those two things meet.
All right, the show that I was planning on being no more than 40 minutes, we've gone for, after the interview, well over an hour, so that's cool. All right, we'll see y'all later.